Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Lindsay. I don't think I mentioned that in my last video, so hey, I am so glad that you're back here. It's been a while since I last posted, but we've been doing all the things. Autumn has officially hit us, and I feel like it has for a while. It kind of started early this year, it seemed like, anyways. The leaves are already turning color in September, and we're at the end of October now. Well, almost. So we're doing all of the autumn things over here. All of the leaves are like the beautiful, vibrant red, yellow, orange, brown, and there's still some green in there. So you got the vibrant autumn colors. We got that autumn scent in the air, just my absolute favorite. We've got all the stews happening, the simmer pots, the pumpkin carving, the fall crafts, all of the nostalgic, cozy things happening here. And not only that, but we've been training. We've been training for my husband's boxing fight, which was originally going to be for November 15th in Alberta. So since then, it has been postponed to March 7th now. So a little bit bummer, but it's all good. They're going to have more time to promote this thing. We're going to have more time to promote this thing. We're going to have more time to prepare. And it's all good. And it's all good because Josh was able to get on a fight card for this past weekend for MMA. And then he has another MMA fight coming up in 2 weeks. And then at the end of November as well. So we have all the time in the world to prepare for this Alberta boxing fight. And we get to go on road trips in the meantime and have some fun and whatever else. Enjoy ourselves and enjoy training. So it's all good and it all works out in the end. So yeah, lots happening. It's really exciting. We've been waiting for this, and since we started dating, Josh has been doing this his whole life. So he's been waiting for this moment his whole life. And yeah, I'm so excited for him. I'm so here for it. I'm just so excited to join him on this ride. I'm so excited to be here and to help him. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. And you guys can follow along with me as I clean my house and water my plants and do all the housekeeping things. So what I wanted to do for this video was to elaborate more on what I was explaining at the end of my last video and touch on a little bit more of Josh and I's story, as well as give you some context of where I was before Josh and I got together. So, first off, Josh and I went to high school together, but we didn't hang out. We just knew of each other. We didn't, we weren't friends. We didn't have the same friends. I guess you could say we kind of had the same friends, but not really. We just knew of each other from seeing each other around school and from other people. So It's not like we just randomly met out of the blue or completely just did not know each other existed before we got together. We knew of each other. We lived and grew up in the same small town. It was like a small farm town, and went to the same high school. So we weren't strangers to each other. And before I met Josh, I was really ambitious. I guess I've always been ambitious, but I was learning how to run my own business and trying to figure out how I was going to be self sufficient in life. Um, I went to college. I did the college thing. I went to college for interior design. Didn't finish my program. I hated it, honestly, to be honest. And it wasn't school that was the issue. It felt very materialistic, and it just felt, I don't even know how to explain it, like fake. It felt like so many people there were so fake and egotistical. And I'm not saying everybody, maybe just like the program I was in, it was very materialistic based, or that was my perception anyways. But a lot of people that I like hung out with outside of my classes were actually really cool. um, I really enjoyed college in the social aspect, and I enjoy studying as well. It's not the school, it just, I don't know, very pretentious. It was very pretentious. Anyways, uh so I did the whole college thing. Wasn't really my thing. I wanted some like real world experience. And I was struggling when I, after college and when I moved back home, I was struggling to find my place. And I was struggling to find a good job that I liked and getting on my feet. So I found this program where you could learn all about business and being an entrepreneur with running a painting business. So that was right up my alley because I figured, like, I kind of had the idea that I wanted to work for myself. So I thought that was a perfect opportunity to learn how to make money for myself and do that. So I was learning how to manage a painting business with other college kids and young 20 something year olds, and networking, learning how to network with other entrepreneurs in the surrounding area and the Toronto area. We were Southern Ontario based, so I was connecting with all the other entrepreneurs in the program within this area. And it was such an encouraging atmosphere and community to be around. If you ever had a question or something that you were struggling with, you could just call up or text these other people that were doing the exact same thing that you were, running and trying to grow a business just like you were. So that was just really awesome to be in a community like that. So I was surrounded with like minded people who also had really aspiring big goals and dreams, and who were driven and had grit and were social. I wanted to be around people and wanted to help people and wanted to do business. So I thought I was doing something great with my life and, kind of getting on the right track with things. And where I come from, where Josh and I come from, it's a really small town, like almost like you're in a bubble, like an echo chamber bubble. Um, and for me, at least, it seemed like it's a town where no one leaves. they just stay there the whole life, and they're just stuck in this weird depressive hive mind. And I'm not saying this as if I hate small towns. I love small towns, okay? Small towns are my jam. And maybe it's just because I'm from this particular small town that I have more of a bias around it, but it's just a bubble, man. So, with living back at home, with no help, trying to run a business, I ended up becoming such a mess. As great as the program was, it had flaws, and, you know, finances were a real stress. You know, trying to learn how to run a business from scratch on your own is hard. And it's just as hard when you take a program that teaches you the same thing. In a sense, it's easier, I guess, but I mean, finances is always a learning curve. And I was living with my dad at the time. I've moved back in with my dad after college. And while I didn't have to pay rent or groceries, really, I paid for some of my groceries, but as for like utilities and rent, I didn't have those expenses, which helped a lot. That helped a lot. But I didn't get any encouragement. My dad was really against the idea of me running a business. And I mean, we weren't really that close in terms of connection and him being involved with my life or even really knowing what I wanted to do or anything like that. And I know it sounds really strange. And trust me, it is really strange. Me being a parent now, I don't understand how you're not involved with your kid's life. So that's a story for another time. But yeah, when I say I didn't have any help, I didn't really have any help except for the help that I got within the program. And of course, not having the expenses of living per se. So yeah, I ended up being a real mess, I think, just from my home life and all the added stressors at that time. I ended up being a real mess. I wasn't really taking care of myself properly. I was smoking cigarettes. I didn't really eat that well. Or barely at all. I lived off of cigarettes and coffee and fast food most of the time. And I was smoking weed and barely exercising at all, moving my body at all. So I was in rough shape. I think more mentally than physically. But I mean, pretty equally so. I was just all around a mess. So when I had met Josh again and started hanging out with him, it was so encouraging and invigorating. And I just instantly knew this was the person I needed to surround myself with and be around. Um, you know, he wanted to do something more with his life than just the average go to school, get a really good status worthy job, and the average thing society and our parents are brainwashed and hardwired to believe and push us to do. And I was trying to explain this in my last video, but the words I was looking for is that Josh had a vision, and not a vision, I guess a vision, but a purpose from God. He was told by God that he needed to pursue this with his life, pursue fighting and that path for his life. So he wasn't just following a dream with fighting. He wasn't just following it because it's what his dad did. He was pursuing what God told him to pursue and told him to do. So that's what was specifically different about Josh compared to everyone else around me at that time, it seemed like. I don't think I had any godly people in my life or anybody that was pursuing God or let alone living in a godly manner. Like they say, and this is what's wrong with Christians or people who say that they're Christian. Not everybody, but most of the people who say that they believe in God don't live like they're pursuing God. They don't live up to what they say. They don't practice what they preach. And that's a huge problem in our society. That was a huge problem with where I was at and the way I grew up. I wasn't influenced by pursuing God and what that looked like. I understand what that looked like, but I didn't have anyone around me to be able to firsthand experience that and see what it looked like, you know? So being around Josh really encouraged me, not just me, myself, encouraged myself, but it was like God was telling me through Josh that this is the person you need to be around. This is the person you need to, basically spend your life with. And I don't think I really understood it at that time that he was going to be my husband. Just that this is the life you need to live. Not exactly live the fighting life, but live a life pursuing God. And someone who's living a life pursuing God isn't living for themselves anymore. They're not living for their own gratification or for someone else's gratification or acceptance or whatever. They are living for God. They are living for God's acceptance. And that's it. That's the only thing that matters. And that's the only thing that should matter. He gave us life. And so living a life pursuing God and living God's will is and should be the meaning and purpose to our life. And so that's why that seemed like such a pivotal moment in my life thus far. Because, like I mentioned in my last video, it's not like I gave up my life to pursue Josh's dream. It was, without me knowing it at the time, it was me surrendering my life to pursue God more and start that journey. And so there's so much more I can elaborate on this topic and how this is God's calling for Josh's life and Josh's path to take in life. But I don't know, maybe we'll get into more of that in future videos. But I guess with that being said, as for now, we'll leave it there. And thank you for everybody who has made it this far and listened to me ramble. I really appreciate all of you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.